Lucid as a stock, I don't think you can go wrong with it. The Saudis are not going to let that fail. Rivian seems almost like a Ford company a little bit. Their product looks like Ford's. It almost makes sense for Ford to acquire them to get their technology, but Volkswagen beat them to the punch. This is interesting. And long-term, which stock is better? I would personally, if I were going to recommend one, I would be bullish on Rivian. Hi, I'm David with EV World News. So Lucid is, I'll touch on this on two pieces, Escape. So one, as a stock, I don't think you can go wrong with it. So my reasoning is the Saudi royal family already owns like 60 or 70% of the company. So all the stock that's in the float is good. Lucid's not going anywhere. I mean, like they're not going away, okay? So they're going to start making the Lucids in Saudi Arabia. The Saudis are not going to let that fail, okay? So I'm just telling you, they are incredibly nice cars. If you can afford that kind of top tier price range, they're really a step up from the Teslas. They were designed to be competitive with the Mercedes EQS. They weren't designed to be competitive with the Teslas. Could any big player buy Lucid? Well, here's the thing. So I talk about, when I have Bill on here, we talk about necessary consolidation in the EV space. Some of the things I've seen, like I've suggested that Rivian seems almost like a Ford company a little bit. Their product looks like Ford's. It almost makes sense for Ford to acquire them to get their technology, but Volkswagen beat them to the punch. So Volkswagen put in $5 billion and they have the right to, and I know we're not talking about Lucid, but the reason I'm bringing this up is Volkswagen will become the second largest stockholder in Rivian behind Amazon. Amazon's number one. Okay. Now, when it comes to Lucid, you have an issue in that. So since the Saud family already owns 60 to 70% of Lucid, it's really irrelevant how much, if somebody came in, so the entire retail float only is 30% ownership of Lucid, if that makes sense. So if you went and you bought up all of the stock in the market on Lucid, the Saudi royal family still owns it. So the Saud family is wealthier than Musk. Okay, so you're not even talking. I mean, they're probably 5 times as wealthy as Musk. This is interesting. And long term, which stock is better? I would personally, if I were going to recommend one, I would be bullish on Rivian. Okay, so Rivian has a few things. So I think Lucid's always going to be around, but let's think of Lucid. Who would be a luxury car maker? Let's think of Maybach. Okay, Maybach basically remanufactures Mercedes to be nicer, right? Okay, Lucid's never going to be Lamborghini. They're never going to be Ferrari. Okay, they're going to. Well, I say that. Okay, I mean, something could change, but I don't see that. I see them being somebody more. They're going to not be the top tier manufacturer. They're not going to start making a mass market Volkswagen. Okay. So I don't see that, but they're going to be in the kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and they're probably all going to stop driving German cars and they're going to all drive Lucids. Okay. That's going to start being the car of choice over there. So I think you're going to see that. But in terms of what stock is better, I like Rivian for a couple of points. For starters, let's say Rivian decided to stop making cars and trucks. Well, actually, they don't make cars, but they make SUVs and trucks, which makes them very similar to Ford. Once again, they're really, in my opinion, they're trying to compete with Ford, not somebody else. In a lot of cases, I compare the Rivian R1S, their SUV. It's basically an electric Range Rover, and that's also why a lot of the Fords look like Range Rovers, is because Ford hired design people from Range Rover a few years ago. So you see a lot of this commonality. But Rivian has delivered a little over 10,000 electric vans to Amazon. The total order is 100,000. Okay, so they've got that. Okay. Secondly, they have tremendous orders for their new R2 unit SUV. They've got tremendous pre-orders for that. They're trying to get to manufacturing it later this year. I think Rivian's going to be a mass market car maker. Okay. So they are bringing some cheaper SUVs to try to compete with the Tesla Model Y. But in reality, and this is something I've heard even from like the BYD people, BYD people don't care about Tesla. They're trying to compete with Toyota. And I think you're going to see this with Rivian, is that Rivian is trying to compete with ICE vehicles more than it is necessarily with the other EV makers, because it's all a matter of time before the transitions become much bigger and bigger in every country. Because I tell people all the time, you can't have a gas station without electricity. Everywhere you go, there's pretty much going to be some access to electricity if there's any kind of civilization nearby. Whether it's solar or whatever, it may not be transmission lines, but there's some way people are getting electric power just about everywhere now. So it's just kind of a matter of time. Electrification of vehicles. And I brought up, the stuff today that was political, but I try to tell people, it's like, the EV thing's not a political issue. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't become it. It's going to be, it's simply what type of fuel's going in the cars. And when you see the Saudis betting on being invested, so the Saudis also own part of Rivian too. I think they're like the third or fourth biggest. Well, I think they're hedging their bets. And I think that's important.
Hi, I'm David with EV World News. If you like this video, then please press the like button. If you like the content and would like to see more videos on electric vehicles, then please hit the subscribe button. If you have some feedback for us, please let us know in the comments. Have a great day.